Bodies of a mother and her 2 children buried in a weekend mudslide have now been recovered.
Yeah, while the family and community continue to grieve, the question still remains, who's responsible for the canal break? Fox 13's Kirk Yunke joins us in studio this morning with the details. Everyone wants an answer.
Yeah, everyone's looking for an answer, if there is one. I mean, a lot of people are saying now that it just was an act of nature and nobody's to blame. Nonetheless, after 4 days of searching, crews have now uncovered the bodies of Jacqueline Leavey and her daughter Abby and her son Victor. Here's the 911 calls from Saturday.
There might be somebody. There might be somebody in there. Yeah, the house. It's the house that went down the hill? The what? It's the house? Yeah. Someone's in there.
911 calls flooded dispatch as neighbors on Saturday scrambled to try and help out. One person shot this home video as police shut this, not this home video, but some video we just showed you, as police shut down flooding roads and firefighters measured gas levels in the area. All dispatchers tried finding out if anyone was caught in the slide. Of course, that was their first concern. Firefighters fought deep mud and continual slides looking for the missing family. The landslide buried their home in 15 to 25 feet of mud, knocking the whole house off the foundation, tearing the house apart. Yesterday, their search came to an end.
My mixed emotions are the result of the gratitude that our workers were able to bring a partial closure for the family. But that gratitude is certainly tempered by the pain we all feel for the family's loss.
The family issued a statement yesterday saying, quote, "We want to express our relief and gratitude now that the search effort has come to a conclusion. Police and fire departments and rescue teams have all done a wonderful job. We must praise their excellence and expediency. We grieve for our beloved ones, but our faith in God is helping us cope. We are asking all of you to respect our privacy and our grief. There will be no more statements from us. May God bless all of you," end quote. Now, while the focus shifts to cleanup this morning, several people in the area still looking at who may be to blame for the slide. Residents in the area say there have been signs that something was wrong. Dirty water had been seeping onto the street for days before the slide. But some ranchers that we talked with say that the company that owns the canal, Logan Northern Irrigation, did everything in its power to properly care and upkeep that canal. They say the canals have been around for hundreds of years. And if they weren't properly maintained, farms wouldn't be getting irrigation water. Utah State University also disputes the theory that overwatering on their part may have led to the break.
This fatal catastrophe could and should have been avoided. And the lives of Jackie Leavey, age 43, and her 2 children, Victor, age 13, and Abby, age 12, would have been spared. All the powers that be at the city, the state university, the Department of Transportation, and the local canal company knew there was a dangerous problem with the Logan Canal and that a mudslide might happen again soon. Residents called and complained, but nobody did a thing. And then the unthinkable happened. An avalanche of mud collapsed on a home, killing Jackie and her 2 young children. It took 4 long days to sift through the mud trying to recover their bodies. Folks were somber and reflective, and all these powers that be that could have prevented this disaster just started blaming each other. Only it was too late to save Jackie and Victor and Abby. Today, the Insider Exclusive presents Mudslide Disasters, the Logan Canal story, and how her family's lawyer, Mitch Jensen, partner at the law firm of Siegfried and Jensen, got justice for this family, earning him and their law firm the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best plaintiff trial lawyers in Utah and in America. Their firm has seen many innocent, hardworking people suffer needless injury and death. And because of that, they are driven to help people who have been harmed by the negligent actions of others, because they never want you or your family to have to suffer what Jackie's family still suffers today, and to make sure that all avoidable disasters stay that way, avoidable. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from Salt Lake City, Utah, at the law firm of Siegfried and Jensen and Steele & Biggs. It is my great pleasure to introduce Mitch Jensen and Mark Taylor to the show. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Today we're going to be talking about a real disaster that should not have happened. It's the Logan, Utah mudslide. Logan Canal, Utah mudslide. Tell us a little bit about what happened in this case.
Well, there was a home that was built up against a slope, and up above the home on this slope was a canal that ran the length of the slope.
And a canal, for our audience, is similar to an irrigation ditch.
It's a large irrigation ditch. Due to a number of factors, this canal broke just above and behind this home. It flooded, caused a landslide to come and literally lift this home off of its foundation, collapse it, and destroy the home. Unfortunately, there was a family of 3 inside when this happened, and it led to their deaths.
Okay, and this wasn't the first time that this canal had broken, was it, Mitch?
No, there's a 100-year history. This canal has been there for a long time, and the stability of the soils around the canal have been a concern of this community for 100 years.
We happen to have some videotape of some residents and witnesses that had actually complained to the city and the powers that be.
I've walked along there and seen that there's these holes in the bottom of the canal, and springs adjacent to our place dried up when the canal broke. So the springs are generated by perhaps, you know, water seeping through the canal.
In '05, when this started, and they had the big trouble up there, we turned around and told them we're having a movement problem here. And I had a contractor come in, and my kitchen floor went like that. You can pour water here on the linoleum and it runs downhill. The cupboards were starting to fall off the wall from the pressure, and we had to re-bolt them back into the wall. This has been happening for a few years. We've told them that since '05. We've been scared to live here. And this is so sad that something like this had to happen when they've been told so many years that this was coming. And them to even hide it is the biggest insult to our families. This is the biggest insult I've ever seen.
Mitch, this is a case about a lot of people knowing what should have been done, but wasn't, right?
That's exactly right. The most disturbing thing about this case is how many public officials and business owners knew of the dangers involved here and could see and monitor the conditions increasing danger, and yet nobody said anything. There was an evacuation plan that was never implemented, and these people weren't informed of the dangers that were right above their heads, so to speak.
Your firm put together an outstanding PowerPoint media presentation, and we're going to show a couple of slides about the timeline. I believe there was a slide in 1976, 1983, 2005. The reasons, there were reports that came out, I think it was the Golder Associate report, wasn't it?
Yes.
That said part of the reason, and you see this a lot in communities which have grown rapidly, part of the reason for increased irrigation in the area and causing the weakening of the area was the expansion of the Utah State University.
Yes.
Evacuation of the Northern Canal Company, excavation of the Northern Canal Company, increase in single-family homes, and a golf course, right?
Right.
A lot of things that were planned and submitted to the city, and yet the city, powers that be, didn't take into consideration the increased water flow and what it might do to the structure of the dirt below, right?
That's part of the problem. This development of Logan City had happened over the course of 100 years, but landslides have essentially been occurring for that time, but really back in the late 70s there were some studies done by the Utah Geological Survey and even students at Utah State University that studied the stability of the slope and why was it susceptible to landslides so frequently. And they were able to tell. They knew it was because of overdevelopment, it was over-irrigation, the deterioration of the canal itself, and that's where this evacuation plan came into it. These studies came and said this is a problem and a real danger to the people who live below this slope. The city, And the state need to do something about it, and the canal owner needs to do something about it. And no one ever did, unfortunately, for this family.
Now, you knew the family. You represented the father?
Yes, we did.
Correct, of the kids, and you knew the family pretty well?
Yeah, we got to know them pretty well through this.
We have with us today some video testimony of some of the relatives to describe who Jackie and Victor and Abbey were.
She always brings happiness to the family. She always was happy. You know, I would ask her, hey, that's everything. Oh, great, great. Even if there was, she was always positive.
My daughter Jacqueline was a wonderful daughter. She had a beautiful personality. She was never angry. She loved to take me everywhere. She and the grandkids were always happy around me, and they would often ask me to come and live with them. I just spoke to her 2 days before she passed away. She told me, Mom, I love you. I love you very much, Mom.
She was the one who had a smile. She told us, you know, life is hard, but hey, there's always something good, you know, you have to find it. If you look really hard, you'll find it. Jackie was happy.
We were 16 months apart. Jackie and I, we were very close. She was always there for me, and the same way I was there for her. When we were little, we were always walking together, laughing together.
Pues tengo 4 hijos, dos hembras y 2 varones. O sea que hoy solo me quedan 2 varones y 1 hembra. Porque me falta una. Jackie.
Obviously, as we have watched the relatives of Jackie and Victor and Abbey, she was a great person, and she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's no question they were not at fault here. They were innocent victims, and as you've said over and over again, the city and the powers that be knew this. So someone had to be blamed for this for obvious reasons. What happened when you started to represent the family?
Well, we learned that there was plenty of responsibility to go around. This is one of those unusual cases where responsibility is shared by a number of different people. The canal runs a distance, and it serves a community, and a lot of government entities have responsibilities. The canal company has responsibilities, and the share of blame can be divided up by all those people, because our clients had no knowledge of this danger.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. You clearly had proof of what happened and why it happened. There was clearly proof, as your settlement video shows, there was a history of everyone being aware of it, yet nothing was done. I'm just kind of curious, when, you know, your defendants obviously were the canal company, the city, the Department of Transportation, God knows who else, but when you filed suit against them, what were their responses? I mean, they were partially responsible, there was no question about it. Well, how did they respond?
Well, they responded as defendants often do in a situation where there's more than one defendant. They pointed the finger at one another, is really how they responded.
In other words, they said, it's not our fault, it's their fault.
Yes.
Okay. How does the city say that? How does the city use that as a defense?
Well, the city was actually probably the quietest defendant on that front.
Right.
The city had been called out the day before this landslide happened, because there was water flowing down the hillside behind this home.
So city officials had gone out there?
Several city officials had gone out there.
And they had seen for their own eyes?
They'd inspected it with their own eyes. They knew what was happening. They knew that there was an evacuation plan in place, and their response was, we don't think this is our water, so this isn't our problem.
This is amazing. Where was this water coming from, that it wasn't their water?
A number of sources. It can come from the canal, it can come from Utah State University, which is up above the bluff.
Let me back up here for a second. We don't think this is our water. The water's still causing damage in their area of responsibility. So what has that got to do with the Hill of Beans?
Well, that's part of the case right there.
Yeah.
Is that the city should have stepped up and at the very least recognized the danger because of the history of these landslides. Because properties and homes had been destroyed before, no one had died, but this property had been destroyed. It was the city's responsibility at that point to evacuate and to warn these families.
What about the canal company? What was their response? It's their canal.
Well, their response is that the city has the monitoring and the responsibility to warn, and they don't have the authority to go out and evacuate an area. And so they wanted to place the blame for failure to warn back on the government officials.
What about the responsibility for just increasing the strength of the canal, reinforcing it so this wouldn't happen? What about that responsibility?
Well, the canal is a cooperative between the canal company and the jurisdictions that the canal runs through and the people that it serves. And this is a case where you can see where there's too many chefs in the kitchen, and nobody's responsible for the dish. They're adding their favorite spice, but nobody cares about what it tastes like.
Now, you settled this case, correct?
We did.
When you settle a case like this, tell our audience how you go about that. I mean, there's a practical way of settling it. You've got a lot of defendants. You've got a family and grieving. What are the criteria you use in settle a case like this?
Well, this is a very difficult case to resolve because of all the parties not wanting to accept responsibility. And it took the artful skill of Joe Steele, an attorney that we work with, Mark Taylor and other lawyers, together with a mediator, a trained mediator, who was very prepared to discuss with each of these defendants, each of these responsible parties, what role they needed to take in resolving the case and how it served them to resolve the case.
And each one of these entities is insured, correct?
Not necessarily. There were a number of them that were self-insured. It means they're paying that out of their own pocket. For instance, the state agencies, they're self-insured.
And then what you do is you go to your client and you say, this is what's on the table, correct?
This was a negotiated settlement at a mediation that occurred here, where all the parties involved, all the responsible parties and the family members got together and worked towards a resolution.
Now you have the Golder Associates study. It's on the canal, correct? It's on geologic surveys. As a result of the settlement of this case, someone took responsibility. Have things changed? Have new policies been enacted with the Department of Transportation, with the Utah State University, with the golf course? They want to defend it, but with other city officials, where from now on, if there is a case or a situation which is causing a dangerous situation, are things going to be changed?
Well, I think that they've changed things a great deal with regard to the danger that this canal posed to the community. What they've changed internally with regard to how they operate and how they make how they take responsibility to inform and warn the public, we have no way of knowing that. We hope that this is a lesson to those agencies, particularly the governmental officials. I think that it's an embarrassment to them to have something like this happen, and certainly the community recognizes their responsibility in it and is ashamed of their behavior. And hopefully the ballot box will correct that behavior.
This happened, what, last year, right?
In 2009.
2009. How is the strength and the reinforcement of the canal right now, Logan Canal? Better?
Well, they've altered the flow a little bit. They're going to rerun it now through an enclosed piping system, at least along this slope. One of the benefits of this is that the city has purchased the surrounding homes because they recognize that there's a danger present to all of them. So that will now be a park. In fact, it will be a memorial park to our clients. But the canal's a long canal, and that slope's a long slope, and so there's still some danger present. Hopefully this has minimized it.
I'm just kind of curious, did anybody of all the parties and powers that be, did anybody ever come forward and apologize?
Yes, actually. The mayor of Logan City, I have to commend him personally. He attended the mediation, and he faced the family, and he told them how sorry he was that this had happened. And that is actually where he announced the creation of this memorial park for their family.
That's good. Well, I'm glad, you know, your law firm did an outstanding job on this and got some sort of justice for the family, although there's no price to life, is there?
Right.
There's not.
And I want to thank both of you for being on the program and doing a great job. Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.